Hello, and now we are going to go to the last part of this matchmaking video series. And in this part, we are going to see how these all the things what I have been talking at the earlier parts, how they are reflecting to the world of tank game and what we can see there and what is the problems, and I have some kind of solutions for it, and that's about it. But let's go forward. What we have been gone in the previous videos. At the first video, we get the starting point for the whole thing. So what is the bad game experiences and what is the root cause for this deviation between teams. So that means that teams are not equal, and they are not equal in the skill level. At the second part, we went through for the analogies about the team skills in generally in the sports and games and so on, and how we are measuring the things in the world of games. And we had this little short mind game, who will win, and we transferred the idea and analogy about skills and knowledge from the hockey. And those were the first two parts, uh, things what we went through. Now uh, we are watching how these whole things are coming together at the World of Tank game, and I have a couple of examples. First example is a deviation between skills, and we are going to go through battle result. This is exactly the same battle result like everyone else can see, but I have installed this uh, XVM modification to my client, so I can see afterwards, for example, this what are the player skills in the battle result, how it went. Uh, what we can see in this, what the XVM modification is showing, there is those color bars before the players. The first part is showing the statistic value of the player, which is basically the skill level of the player. The second part is mm, the vehicles what the player has been used, the XVM value of it. So XVM is collecting values as a player and also the vehicles what he's using, what is the skill level on that player on that tank. But we are focusing that first bar, so uh, the general skill level of the player. And there's that same old chart, color keys, and we can see right away when we are comparing those colors to the players, uh, those bars before the player's name, nicknames, that what is the skill level of those players. So, for example, in my team, ally team, there's a lot of oranges, some of yellows, and so on. And enemy teams has also yellows, more yellows, some oranges, couple of unicorn or one unicorn, one of very good player and one pure red. So that's something what we can find out right away. There's also one major thing what I start to look when I'm going through those battle results. There's a values in numbers. What is the overall when we are summing up the player skill levels? What is the overall VN8 value, and also the average value, and also how they have been performance at the battle. So what is the overall performance value on the battle and what is the average? And there's also those color codes behind those values, so it's pretty easy to see right away what is the level of the team's skill level on the whole perspective of view and how they are performing at the battle. There's a couple of other things what you don't have to have any kind of VN8 modification to install it, but they are interested to see. Uh, One what I check a lot when I'm going through this battle result is amount of damage is what the people are doing. Like I said earlier, it doesn't tell whole truth about player skills and so on. But in other hand, it tells a lot. In the lower end, let's put this way, when the uh, player get only one shot or doesn't get any shots or penetration, something like that, it tells very sad and ugly truth about player skills. But that's about it. I don't concern so much about anything else about those performance things. There's also very interesting values what I'm time to time is seeing or watching, which I haven't came up here, but it's that experiences values which are right over here next to these battle hits uh, damages values. This tells some kind of message the effectiveness of the player, but this is based on roughly on those wargaming own statistics. So that's it's not telling the whole truth, but some time to times, like I said, I watch those too. Now, now we know what the three things what I'm looking for is basically these what I just said on the battle result. And let's see what this battle result tells us. First thing first, let's start with those deviation between team skills. It's a major and first thing what we can check out. So this means this is basically when we are comparing that boxing match thing, there is a 10-year-old boxer against Mike Tyson kind of thing in generally, or we can compare that amateur hockey team against Canadian uh, world champion hockey team. When we are comparing the skill levels of these two teams, this is basically the same thing. Now, in this case, in the battle result, the gap between these two teams is 25%. It may sound that it isn't not so much, but this works pretty much same as those win rates and percents. The value isn't might not be a big, or in this case it is 25% is a huge gap on the skill values between two teams, and it could be much worse. I have seen many battles where the this person's value is more close to the 40 or even 50%. So there's we can right away say why is the reason why the other team wins or how it goes. But 25% is a huge gap between this, and we can right away see the reason why the other team lose. It's not the equipments. Both team has this IS-7s and Löwe tanks and AMX 50B. It's funny that they are on the same line, and so on. And matter of fact, my team had EPR 90, which enemy team didn't have. So it doesn't it isn't about these tanks itself or equipments. It's about skills. It's a crucial thing on this outcome. Next thing is this what we can see on the damage is what the team has been done. This start to tell more about the skill levels and what is behind this, how the leverages on the battle, how they have been went. And when I'm going through these allies team players, what they have been done, I can see right away that about half of my team managed to get one shot, or two of my players managed to get none of those shots. So they they was the skill level was so low against enemies and in that situation. Now that's a very important thing. It's not about skill level itself. It's a skill level when we are comparing to the enemy team. That's the main thing. It's it doesn't tell itself something if my allied team is poor red, so bad players, or uh, enemy, or let's say green, entire green players. It's something what we are comparing to the enemies, the other team. That's the whole truth. So these players were their skill level was too low against enemy team, and they went to be a tourist. Of course, those half of my allied team there was a red players, and no, we cannot expect a lot of anything from them. Now somebody is saying that we have EPR, you cannot adjust EPR for the mm, damage is what he's doing. If he's spotting something, it's much more important, and that's good point. And when we are looking about this EPR, in good hands, EPR 90 could be changed the course of the battle. But the like I said earlier, skill level or gap for the to start to be a good player on the EPR, start to be an effect, it's not low. It could be a pretty high. So in other words, EPRs are not the easiest tank to start to make a difference in the battle. And when we are looking about now the experiences of this EPR player, we can see right away that he didn't make a difference. He didn't spot. He didn't do the things what he should be done. I can't remember the battle itself because this is pretty old battle result, and I have been going through hundreds of battle results. But I'm guessing that this EBR has been died right away, or he has been camping in a red line or something. He didn't play as the rule requires. That is the output because this uh, this experience is what he has been done is very low. And tricky is that when you are doing spotting well, we could see what is the spotting values for him, what his span, how much damage he has been spotted, but we cannot see that because, like I said, this is a very old result and I don't have the value for it. But if this EBR would be spotting a lot and he would make a different, his experiences values would be much higher. It rises very fast if you are doing a good job as a spotter. So this was a good example about those overpowered tanks. They are relied to the skill level of the player. In a good player's hand, they are dominated. They turn the course of the battle. In a bad player, they don't do anything, to be honest. And this battle was over under the 4 minutes. This was tier 10 battle, and when we are going upward on tiers, the battle could be the battle pace could be would be very fast in that case. Let's take a look another example. And in this example battle result, the skills are not evenly distributed. And when we are looking those deviation between these team skills, it's a little bit lower than the previous one, 17%, but the gap is much smaller, to be honest, than the previous. And this is very important to see. When we are going in the higher tiers, the this deviation between twin skills, it have more or bigger effect to the output. So if we could, the deviation between team skills in this lower tier battle result what we are looking right now, it would be 25 as the previous 10 tier 10 battle, it would be telling the same message what we can write here and see, but the effectiveness of the result would be not so big. But in this case, with these tiers with 17%, I would say these are pretty close to equal, these teams, in the division between team skills point of view. But what is different with these teams? Uh, when we are uh, stripping out or like to see, we are uh, start to look how these skills are distributed between players in the both teams, we can easily see the reason why the um, other team lost. And what is the reason? In my allied team, I had three good players, so there was very good pike on the skill level in the three players, but the rest of the team was very bad. I mean, those were almost everyone was a red. There was one yellow, but rest of the red was red, uh, and that was the reason. And it was bad thing because when we are comparing this to the enemy team, which have roughly the same amount of skill values on the team, but those skills was way better distributed between the players. So there was uh, not so bright peak on the skill level, but there was more mediocre player than the very bad player, like I had in my team. And also, if we are trying to find more proof for that, we can easily see on the players' damages how much they did or didn't do, and we can easily see that uh, only 5 players in my team did some kind of effect in the point of view of damages, or let's say that they did more than one shot, and rest of those team members did one shot or less, so zero. So basically they were tourists. Yeah, absolutely. So what this means, obviously the enemy had the same tourists too, but much less. So what this means, it means that on the setup it was 5 versus about 10 or something. And when we are talking about teams which another team has 5 players on the start and another team has 10 players, it's not a brainer to figure it out which will have better chances to win. So again, it's not a fair setup for a whole thing. And this was over under 5 minutes. My allied team lost whole thing, and it was much 1 minute longer than the previous tier 10. But obviously, when we are talking about lower tier, it will take a longer time. More examples. To be honest, I have a lot of these. To be an exact, I have more than 300 battle results, what I have been captured and analyzed. And these more than 300 battles, uh, I haven't captured all the battles and all the lost or wins what I have faced, but these are the, let's say, ugly ones in the past 1.5 years or almost during the 2 years. And I have been sometimes so pissed off this matchmaking that that's why I have captured and analyzed what is the reason for the loss. How why I face it again these bad experiences 15 to 0, 15 to 4, something under the 5 or 6 minutes, and the fastest was about 3 minutes. And what is the reason? Almost all these lost uh, was rely on the team skill deviation. The reason for it was the uh, this huge gap between team skills when we are comparing them. And I haven't captured only the losses, but the same goes the wins. So all those better results, which came up the same situation, regardless did I win or lose, are captured. And to be honest, um, obviously it's much better feeling to win or lose than to lose. But to be honest, I did don't enjoy win the battle, which is 15 to 0 in 4 minutes. It's again, I'm looking for those long and tight battles. Yeah, this might sound very odd because many people are just looking for those wins, and far um, some people are enjoying the beer dominant thing, but that's not like I said earlier at the beginning. That's something what I'm not looking for. But more than 300 battle scores, what I have been gone through, the almost all the time, all the cases, the why the team is losing was this deviation between skills. There is some percent is some of those, uh, let's say 10, 20 battles roughly, which had been dominated just because the enemy had these 279Es or something. So they have some kind of uh, part of this whole thing, but almost every battle was the reason for loss was this differences between two team skills. And like I said earlier, the battles what I have been captured and analyzed these was mostly these bizarre things, which gives this bad game experiences. So uh, I have lost much more battles than 300 during the um, year and a half time. But um, these examples what I have captured was pretty much all on this, and the I didn't. In some point, I just lost interest and frustrated. I stopped to capture these. So, uh, to be honest, during the 1.5 year or 2 years, what I have been starting to collect data from this, there's a lots more these bad experience battles, many times more. But yeah, let's go forward. The reasons for this, most of them was not the EBR or the special tanks. Like I said earlier, maybe some percent is on these, but mostly, if I'm summarizing up, it's not about those special tanks or overpowered tanks, to be honest. Uh, when we are talking about arties, it's just a joke to put artillery to these dogs and this bad game experience. It had nothing to do. Like I said earlier, that if the battle is lasting only 3 minutes on the top tier 10, arties had chance to fire their guns about 2 or 3 times. So they don't change any course on these battles. Gold ammunitions, no, both team have so and so on. This is the things what we went through earlier. So main thing is what we can find out is that this team skill deviation is the reason. When we are looking the future, the situation is getting worse all the time, and it has been getting worse. Let's say if we are going backward about uh, let's say 2 years about or more, it it's getting worse all the time. I like to say that every time when the war game try to boost up, make a more interesting factors to this game, they are putting features to the game which serves the skilled players. better than the normal. Uh, to be honest, they serve everybody, but the nature of this whole system is that skilled players get a lot of more out of them, and those skilled players are getting better. That's the truth. So what this means, normally skilled players get those special tanks, power creep tanks, for example, chieftains and so on, by their skills. Obviously, there's a possibility, like I said, that they can buy them. Somebody is buying them. But if you, no matter if you have overpowered tank, but you don't know how to play it, it doesn't rock the boat, so call it. But when we are talking about skilled players, then they have much better easy access to get them because they are skilled. The situation is getting worse. Normally, skilled players are using extra ration. These are the extra foods which give about, as far as I remember, 10% better performance for the tanks. And nevertheless, that some of unicorns are telling at the Twitch channel and so on that this is it isn't so expensive to use this. But truth is that this cost 20,000 credits per match. And when we are talking about these average Joes, budget players, uh, 20,000 credits for them is huge amount credits if they are free to play players, for example, and they don't have premium tanks which will give even that invest to the extra rations. So they are losing very fast credits if they're using those extra rations, which gives them boost up for the forward to their tanks. Well, I have heard many cases that some these unicorns are telling that uh, mm, you don't have to use 20,000 because there's a discount about 3 or how many 4 times maybe in a year. So Wargaming is offering them half on the price. It's 10,000 credits. 10,000 credits per battle is still a lot for the budget player, to be honest. You know, if he's playing Tech 3 tanks, which incoming isn't that good, especially if they are playing in the higher tier, then 10,000 credits is a loss. And to be honest, in other hand, how much you expect that these average shows free to play players have credits to use spend on those discount events because they have to spend millions or tenth of millions credits to buy to storage those extra ration at the discount, and they don't have that amount of credits. Basically, only persons who have possibilities to buy for different nations these extra rations, uh, hundreds of them to the carrots, are those skilled players who has lot of credits. So again, this is the truth. No matter what these good players are saying, normal skilled players they are farming gold a lot because they want to be a competitive, and they know exactly that this is pretty cheap way to gain uh, better performance. Gold ammunition means that enemies armor doesn't mean, I don't say that they don't mean anything, but the meaning of the armor is losing a lot of edges because those ammunitions are going much easier through every armor what they can face. When especially when we are talking about higher tier battles where the skilled players are start to shine, or they are playing on the higher tier battles, they are farming gold a lot. Skilled players has then they're using a lot of bond equipment and bounty equipment. Now somebody could say that no, that's not a problem, or what's about this because everybody can have these, even that average Joe. Well, that's a true, but let's break it apart a little bit. Uh, what is the speed what the average Joe can earn bonds if they are not so good when we are comparing this to skilled players? They don't earn bonds so much. And when they have collected in time, for example, 10,000 bonds, do they spend them to the couple of equipments, or do they spend them to get that first or second premium vehicle, what they are looking for? The answer is pretty clear. And they don't have gold or something what they can change those bond equipments from tank to tank and so on. The truth is that they are spending bonds to those premium accounts because it's more valuable to them to get credits with those premium tanks than pimp up some couple of tanks with a couple of bonds. But the skilled players, this isn't a problem. They are getting bonds much easier. They have those special premium vehicles already. Probably they have bought them. So where they're spending those bonds for equipment, and they have a lot of them, all those equipments. Same goes bounty equipments. You can get those bounty equipments for events, but without upgrading their work as a regular equipments, and so there's no any kind of boost or when we are comparing to the normal equipments. And you need to have 3 million credits per equipments to boost up those bounty equipments. And again, average so doesn't have those 3 million credits lie around extra so they can spend them to boost up the bounty equipments. That's the truth. But it's a different kind of story for the skilled players. And why it's a different kind of story for skilled players is that normally they are investing uh, real currency to the game. I put a lot on that word, lot of that they invest in game a lot. Well, I don't know, is it a lot or something? Again, it's everybody's own business how much they're putting money, but it's normally to see that skilled players are investing in this game, so they are uh, find some kind of situation to pay to win uh, situation for themselves. Uh, how much they are investing, it's depending on the player. But I have been seeing stories where somebody is putting, let's say, 10 euros per month, or even 50. Or one case I heard that player is investing 100 euros per month to this game, and he's basically buying gold and premium vehicles and time to time premium time. So and he can change those premium gold he can change to the free experiences or credits or whatever he needs, and so he has unlimited amount of credits to use for them to the gold ammunitions, for the upgrading bounty equipments, for the buying bounty equipments from the events, and so on, so on, so on. So the situation is totally different when we are comparing uh, average Joe to the normal skilled players. And last but not maybe least, um, Crew 2.0, the version what I have been, or what the wargaming has been introduced so far, it will be devastating. It will be broke this game even more if it come out as it has been showed so far, because this gives a lot of new tools for the skilled players to pimp up more or broke those tanks what they have, or already overpowered tanks. They can pimp up more of for them just to spend credits and so what they have already so much. So the future of this game it's leading that way that everything what the wargaming is, like I said earlier, what try to make new things, what make this more interesting, they are serving the skilled players. I have mentioned there the field modification. Well, that's not the biggest thing because everybody can get those field modifications. But the only difference is that skilled players have the they they're skilled. They have more. They got more experiences. They got those experiences boosters with the premium account. They got different uh, boosters what they can use to get more free experience and so on. So only different is that normally these skilled players can make much faster to get those modifications. That's an average show, and this is not the reason. I don't blame those skilled players or any of these. I don't blame skilled players, but that's how the work gaming has been modified, and they are the responsible or reason why this situation is getting worse. And when we are going through this fastly, what this means, skilled players get those power creep tanks. It unbalance the balance the teams to each other. If another team has skilled players with these power creep camps tanks, it's bad thing. Uh, no, well, basically the same thing. The unbalancing is growing because they can obviously pump up their tank's performance with the accelerations. Same goes to cold ammunitions. Enemy armors lost meaning, basically. Same goes to the bonds and bounty equipments. They boost up their own tank performance, and unbalancing is rising. Uh, the pay to win features are start to raise their head pretty fast with this investing thing. But investing, this beta thing, like I said earlier, it's something what I understand uh, pretty well in all these online things. The companies have to earn somehow money back. If they are willing to give most of the game features and all the by on the free, they have to get money back and somehow. But this has a dark side, this whole thing. Like I said earlier, good thing in the World of Tanks is that this isn't not lead so much these pay to win features. What you can get is uh, it doesn't make bad player to good player if with these pay to win features, and that's a good thing with these skill things. The skill is so dominate in this game that if you are putting a lot of money, it doesn't. If you, and you don't have skills, it doesn't make you the winning person of this game. That's very good thing, and that's mostly one of the one rare things why I'm still interested of this game after many years. Uh, this has so many levels in some point of view. Again, Crew 2.0 and Field. These are the things what boost tank performance. And what this means, uh, when if you are transferring again these things, when we are talking about skilled players, when we are transferring this that to those battle results and uh, like I said in the battle result that there's we can see those skill levels with the XVM model modification, but we don't see behind those skills what kind of equipments they have. But this list means that when we are looking those battle results and there is a good player, and I don't mean now red or yellow or even green, but I'm start to talking about those blue and unicorns when we are going upward. It's pretty clear that 90, 80% of those players have much better equipment than the another average shows too. That's the uh, that's the story what we can see in those uh, XVM or these skill basic analysis. Root problems. Uh, is it skilled players, different tanks, tiers, or ammunitions, evolution of the game, or matchmaking? Well, skilled players are not the problem, or any players, weak players or skilled. No matter how much I'm bad mouthing on the game or the what are my opinions on the different level of player skills or anything. It's to be honest, it's not a problem. If somebody is saying to me, "Don't play the game," player playing the game, that's exactly the right, and that's the thing what I'm doing here right now. I'm talking about player skills, but the problem isn't it. It's something else. It's in this game. It's that matchmaking. That's a uh, whole idea of this video and so on. So skill, is it players? Is it skilled or weak player on the skill point of view? It's not the problem. Differences between tanks, tiers, and ammunitions. I like to see that it's not a problem, long as anybody can get those. Obviously, when we are adding up these things, it starts to be a problem. Evolution of the game is a big problem. Like I said earlier, that wargaming has been developed this whole thing many years on the back, wrong direction, I may say so. If I have to pinpoint some points where the wargaming has been taking the wrong route, it would be those. Game was version 9 point something, and the wargaming was introducing the Scorpion Sea and Defender and something like that. They were the first broken tanks in this game, and far as I have been understood, wargaming make so much, ridiculously so much money. For example, for the uh, Scorpion Sea tank, that that was the opening key. What they started to do, and everything what they have been done after that was that everybody's spending more and more real money for the game, and the what they get from more and more money is something which change the balance of the game. And that's not the whole truth, but there's also these new tanks what the wargaming has been introducing to make the game interesting more and more. And that's where we come from the EBRs, for example. So the evolution, if you are talking about that Crew 2.0 something, uh, it's very sad direction where this is going, and it is very big problem. And more game is going that direction. It make always hard and hard to make the next thing, which is that matchmaking. And the matchmaking is uh, by the evolution of the game, it become always harder and harder to make fair matchmaking. So matchmaking is the huge problem now and the future. When we are looking um, this situation where we are right now, what should be done when I'm talking about deviation between team skills? The solution for this would be on skill-based matchmaking, and I know many players are against this many reasons. One of this is that they are enjoying to be and dominate, and they enjoy to see those situations where Mike Tyson kind of boxer is beating up that 10-year-old boxer. They want to see that kind of uh, show, but I'm not that kind. I don't never ever want to see anything like that. I like to see fair fights and so on. So um, my solution is truly this, that matchmaking should be based on skill based RNG. So the matchmaking will build up around the skills. What this means in actions, what it should done. Uh, the whole matchmaking calculation should be starting on the player statistic. I don't know what would be an ideal statistic to use it. Uh, in this, obviously, when I'm happy looking so much to XVM, it's first in my mind, but I know that that isn't the idea. It should be something which is combined with the players' effectiveness of the battle too. Uh, One of the most important thing what has been used in this skill-based matchmaking is to use categories. So these are examples. We have three categories where these are XVM values or VN8 values. First categories, there's matchmaking only players which have 0 to 800 value on the XVM or VN8. Next category would be 800 to 1500 and 1500 plus. And why it's so, what I have been shown that, or what is the idea? Idea is that, for example, under the 800 value of the player, he is weak. His knowledge of this game is weak, and his skill level is weak, and it's fair that he will face the same level of players. It's not fair that he will face any time unicorns or good players. It's not fair, to be honest. And he would have the own crowd where he can develop his own skill level to higher. And when he is going to higher, he get higher categories and so on. 800 to 1500, it would be this level where the players start to know how to play, and their skill is development fastly to the higher level. And 1500 and higher, there will be all the unicorns and the good players together. Um, it's obviously easy to see that it's not fair to put those 1500 and unicorns together, but yeah, I like to see that it's still much more mm, fair game to put, for example, 3000 VN8 against 800 uh, than the 800. It's fair to put that 1500 against 300 than 300 against 800. That's what I meant to say. Uh, why these areas, well, or categories? Well, obviously the skill base is the one most important thing, but another one is that there is a limitation how much players we have in a server pool, and most of the players, uh, I can't remember the amount of the players, but about half of the players are XVM values have about 1000 or something. So it's much easier to collect the lower tier battles. And when we are going upward on the skill, the player pool is getting very fast smaller. So if we have that fast last category, which is 1500 to top, for example, 4000 something, the pool of that amount of that player on that pool isn't that big. Next action is, it's very important to put some kind of limitation on the matchmaking with the on the skills when we are the deviation between skills. So depending on the tier, there should be a deviation. For example, tier 10, the skill levels between two teams cannot be 10 more than 10%. And when we are going lower tier, the limitation would be a 15% something. This is very important. This is the biggest thing where we are uh, balancing the skills of the two players, two teams players. Obviously, outcome what we can expect from this is that teams are more homogeneous on the skill levels. Deviation between skill levels are more equal, and what I'm looking for is that battles are more tighter and longer. So I get or people are getting much better game experiences or same experience what it was many years ago, which was much better. Of course, this have some kind of problems. First one is that matchmaking is going to get lots more time. Now it's take time. Uh, Fastest is, I guess, under the 10 seconds to 50 seconds or something, less than minute, depending on the what tier and what tanks you have. But it's very fast. Uh, when we have this skill-based matchmaking, depending on the tier and the tank, it would take even, I guess, couple of minutes to make that matchmaking process go through. But to be honest, I'm willing to change any time that 10 seconds waiting to a couple of minutes if I get uh, those long and tight battles. I don't have any kind of hurry to get those bad experiences, 5 minutes games, which which brings me very bad feelings, which is not the fun anymore. Next thing is that building up for the team's player, building up the team from a player pool could be a tricky. Like I said earlier, that when we are going higher on the skill levels, the player pool is starting to be smaller, and if we are trying to put those uh, limit limitation for the two teams skills, it would be a tricky. Also, those platoons, if you are trying to go platoon with the lower or higher category play, you cannot play on the platoons. Uh, in now, if the wargaming start to do right now, that's kind of matchmaking. It could be a problem because they have decent statics to system to use it. So they should use the XVM, which is first party uh, system, and I'm pretty sure that they won't rely on them. They have to develop their own system. It's fine for me, long as it's good. And again, this video is almost an hour soon long, so I'm wrapping up. Final thought. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that many people are thinking that this isn't going to work. This is dreaming something which isn't the real thing, and something whatever. I'm wasting everybody's time for matching something which isn't real thing, which is on the dreamland. But I have one final thought for this. Uh, in reality, is that we have had skill-based categories. This kind of system we have had in the different games and sports for hundreds and hundreds years. We have we have had sports. We have had uh, categories for ages and genders and whatever. There's so much different kind of categories, and why they have them is that they want have the balances and fair game for everyone. In the world of tanks, there are not such as balancing factor. There's basically same as like I said earlier that we could see, for example, boxing match that 10 year against Mike Tyson, and it's not fair. I, I I'm just wondering why the heck I want to see something like that, and World of Tanks doesn't have any kind of system. So the main thought and question is that if the different skill-based categories, player categories, which have been working for hundreds of years in the sports and other games, why wouldn't it work? World of Tanks game, and my answer is really clear. It could be done. But that's about it. I'm stopping right now. Again, sorry about these long videos. If you have watched it so far, thank you for your patience, and obviously you have interested this whole thing. If you have your own opinions or something, please write a comment for the comment sections. What are your how you feel? What is your uh, game experience? What you see on bad game experiences? If it is it that 15-0 or something? Uh, do you struggle this kind of situation? Do you enjoy uh, this situation 15-0 or something? What is your point of this whole thing? And please leave the comment. It's very interesting to see what the people are seeing in this whole thing. But that's about it. I'm wrapping up this whole video series on these words. And again, thank you for all, and bye bye.